Sophie was a quiet observer in her own life. When her parents argued, she slumped deeper into her chair, clutching her schoolbook tightly until the voices faded. When her friends forgot to include her, she smiled and pretended she'd been too busy to join them anyway. If a teacher called on her in class and she didn't know the answer, she'd laugh it off and change the subject. Bit by bit, Sophie learned that saying nothing was easier than explaining how she felt. By the time Sophie moved to the city for university, silence had become her shield. Her roommate, Maya, was loud and spontaneous. She filled their shared apartment with music, laughter, and stories about disastrous dates or missed buses. Sophie nodded along, always listening, rarely sharing. To everyone around her, she was the reliable one, the friend who never made drama, who never asked for anything. But inside, Sophie's quiet was not peace. It was a pressure cooker, simmering under years of swallowed hurt. She told herself it made her strong, resilient, that she'd learned to get over things quickly. When reminders of her old loneliness flickered through her mind, she pushed them down, busying herself with coursework or chores. One March afternoon, Sophie returned home to find her favorite mug shattered in the sink. Maya rushed in, apologizing. "I'm so sorry. I was in a hurry. I'll get you a new one, I promise." Sophie forced a tight smile and told Maya it was fine. The lie stuck in her throat. That mug was her comfort during hard days, a connection to the grandmother she missed dearly. By midnight, as she lay in bed, the sadness twisted into irritation, then anger, not just at Maya, but at herself for pretending. Again. The next week, Sophie sat in a seminar group as the conversation turned personal, family, childhood, the lessons people carried from youth. When the facilitator invited thoughts on forgiveness, Sophie felt her heartbeat quicken. Unlike her classmates, she had never mastered the art of forgiving herself, not for being invisible and not for staying silent. That night, she pulled out a blank notebook. She wrote about her grandmother and the mug. She wrote about laughter she'd faked and invitations she'd never received. About the loneliness she'd never shared and the little battles she'd lost silently, believing that her feelings were too complicated to matter. Days passed. Sophie wrote more, filling page after page with words she'd never said out loud. She spoke with Maya, not about the mug, but about how she struggled to open up, even to herself. Maya hugged her, promising to listen whenever Sophie was ready to talk. For the first time, her silence didn't feel like shame. It felt like a room she was learning to leave behind. Slowly, Sophie began taking small risks, telling a friend when she was upset, asking for help with an overwhelming assignment, admitting when she was hurt. She wasn't always eloquent. Sometimes her sentences faltered, her hands shook. But each time she named her feelings, the years of pressure inside her seemed to loosen. Sophie learned the lesson life had been trying to teach him for years. That healing begins the moment you stop pretending you're fine.